Hey everyone. Sorry I've been MIA for so long. Trust me, nobody's more upset than me for missing out on all the videos I could have been making since there's been a ton of information coming out over the last few weeks. But all of you guys know that I have a pretty demanding job, so I've been traveling all over the place doing a bunch of testing and, all that type of stuff that my job demands of me. But at least I'm back now and things are finally winding down. But before we get into what I want to talk about Season 9 and this new patch and, everything that encompasses it, a word from our very first sponsor. Yes, that's right, me! I'm my first sponsor! I wrote a book, everyone, and I would really appreciate your help if you guys could just watch this ad I made for myself for like a second. Confaga, Roots of a Very Old Tree, a high fantasy young adult book with a modern take on African mythology. After a mysterious confrontation with his father at school, Marcus Jobda finds himself in the land of Kara. With a small band of determined adventurers and a robust magic system he must quickly learn, Marcus begins his search for his family, a way home, and tries to discover the mystery of the disappearances. From escaping Mamiwara and preventing wars between kingdoms, he'll need every edge his wits can give him to see the next day. The more he learns, the less things appear as they seem. But does he really want to go back to his old life? With hundreds of illustrations filled with clues of the history of the world, Confaga, Roots of a Very Old Tree is available now on Amazon. And free, from February 20th to February 24th, because honestly, I just want people reading the book. It's a great story. Link in the description. So yeah, that's the ad, and if you guys can just go to Amazon, the link is in the description, and just kind of download the ebook because it's completely free, guys. It's completely free. Download the ebook and then leave me a review. That'll help me out a lot because the best way to, long-term sell books and kind of have a foundation is to have a lot of reviews, right? Nobody buys anything on Amazon if it doesn't have any reviews, right? So please help me out. I really wanted to get this video out earlier and kind of let you guys know earlier too, but I wasn't home, so there's nothing I could have done. So yeah, the book is free today and tomorrow, Friday and Saturday, all day, and then Sunday, it goes back to being something to pay for. And it's not even that expensive too, so yeah. I'm currently not making any money off of this. I really just want people to read the book because I've been working on it for so long, and ever since college, like my sophomore year of college. So yeah, help me out, guys. Anyways, let's go back to Overwatch stuff. So I think it's pretty clear to everyone that this is a surprisingly good patch. Not even surprisingly good. I would say it's just a great patch. When I had first seen the patch notes a few weeks ago or like a month ago or something like that, I was devastated. I thought it was pure madness. Like everyone having the passive healing, the increased HP, the increased damage of all the characters, the easier aiming, all of that, when it was still kind of like leaking out and stuff. And I thought they were crazy, and I was right to think they were crazy because of their track record, right? A lot of the patches they've done before was complete nonsense, right? It didn't seem like they knew how their decisions would ripple down and affect the entire meta. But lo and behold, I was wrong. And I'm happy that I was wrong, because this patch is actually a really good one. They actually addressed a ton of the problems I had with the game before. But before we get into each of the specifics, and I do get pretty in depth, I do want to say what I think this means overall for the game. And I think overall for the game, it shows the new mentality of the dev team being able to take such an aggressive approach to fix a problem, because the changes are huge. It's like really probably like the biggest change to Overwatch since going from Overwatch 1 to Overwatch 2, right? It's a really big, ambitious change, and I think that's the mentality they should have had a long time ago, because all their changes they've done before, it was almost like they were afraid, like it was always like a half step, a half measure, or just completely wrong. When I'm saying completely wrong, I'm thinking about Doomfist healing when he uses his ultimate. That's still a very silly patch. But yeah, this is ambitious. And even if the patch was a bad patch, I think it would have still been a good sign that, hey guys, we're actually going to go all in and see and shake things up. We're going to take risks despite all the hate we get on all social media platforms. And it's become very easy to hate Overwatch, well, at least the team. And it's easy to dunk on them all the time. And I think maybe that was a reason why they weren't being as ambitious. But, you know, their first big ambitious play, they did a really good job. So I think this is a good sign. And plus, that we got the hot fix like yesterday, right? I believe it was yesterday. That's fast, guys. That's really fast. Like, really good job on the Overwatch team for this. It only took them a year and a half to figure out what the hell they're trying to do with their game. But, you know, better late than never, I guess. I don't know. Maybe they should have listened earlier. And who knows, maybe they were listening, but it just took a really long time to make these changes. But I doubt it, because never mind. Let's move on to the next topic. Anyways, as you guys know, my biggest complaints were that the game had way too much damage and way too much healing. If you go into my character philosophy videos, which I think don't apply anymore, right? I probably have to restart that. It was just, something's either impossible to kill, or you just one-shot them, right? Or something that's like, or they just explode, I guess is the better term to say. Like, it was so like feast or feed all the time. Like, it was ridiculous. You couldn't really build up to anything. You couldn't really, you know, work towards killing something. You would either have to do it all at once or just try again the next time your cooldowns are back. But yeah, they somehow fixed it. They fixed this problem in like the most complicated, convoluted, but kind of funny way I could have thought of them fixing it. And I actually kind of love it. It's actually so ridiculous and works really well. It's great. It shows there's a lot of creative minds over there. And again, this is a much deeper conversation that we'll have later on in the video, but I'm kind of just skimming over everything. The other thing I do want to give props to the game, and I saw this day one when I got back into the game, and then I played Doomfist and all that type of stuff. I was like, whoa, because it's so much more punishing now. It's so much more punishing now. I cannot play Doomfist the same way I used to play him, like at all. The skill cap of this game has definitely been raised, and I think that's a really good thing. And honestly, I'm not trying to, you know, suck on this game a little, but it feels, or this patch, I mean, but it feels a lot more like I'm playing Overwatch 1, which is surprising. I don't think I realized how much dumbed down the game had become because of how powerful support had become, where I could just do ridiculous shit and they would just kind of bail me out of it all the time. Like, I knew it was a thing, but I didn't know to what extent it actually was affecting my gameplay. And now I get punished, man. I get punished, especially as a tank player. Now, I still think that 6v6 is the way to go, but this patch really did make me believe that eventually they can actually make 5v5 work. I don't know if it'll be as good as what I believe the potential with 6v6 is, and I still never posted my 6v6 versus 5v5 video, which I should probably do, but I do want to see. I want to kind of get in some more data with this new season, but it made me believe that eventually they can actually get there. They can actually make this work. And at the pace they're going, who knows? Maybe it'll just take 2 years. Maybe it'll just take 2 years for them to be able to do. So, you know, I'll be here. I'm not going anywhere. I'm a busy man, so, you know, any leisure I can get, I'll take. Anyways, I was thinking about how I was going to organize this video, and I think it would be best to organize it by role, because you can really hit the specific things that kind of affect them more than others over there. So first, yeah, I think we should do the support class first. There's a lot to be said about support, because there's been so many changes towards them, and probably DPS last, because their changes are powerful but much more straightforward. So yeah, finally, support healing has been decreased. Like that's a great thing. I think the way they did it is also really genius. The 20% reduced healing DPS puts on a specific character is great. Like I'm surprised they thought of that. Again, especially with their track record. Now, I still think support abilities are a little bit too hacks, mainly because there's still no counterplay to a lot of their utility. But hey, I'll take this. Like, this is a great start to continuing balancing the game. Like, things can die now over time, and it's what I said earlier, where before you couldn't really build up a kill. You would either have to perform this task all at once, or you just have to restart it again. There's like no in between. But I will say this, and I think I'll probably get some let's say some pushback off this opinion. I think that the nerf to healing that that DPS applies might be a bit over too. I think 20% might be too much. And this is coming from the guy who's complaining that there's too much healing before. And again, it's definitely better, but I think it's a little overtuned, mainly because there's almost nobody cares about healing anymore. Essentially, is the way, like, healing doesn't matter, right? If you're looking at all the top support characters now, you have Lucio, and you have Zenyatta, you have Brig. Like, yes, like, let's say Lucio and Brig, their healing is kind of AoE. Everybody gets a gradual amount, but there's like the need for burst healing is not there anymore, or even dedicated healing is just, it's not there anymore, right? They're the best, and they heal, like, per person they heal like so much less, but they're the meta because it's all about speed, it's all about movement, it's all about damage and survivability. I guess I can throw in there. And the reason for that, it's a mix of two things, right? It's a mix of the DPS passive now for bringing down how much healing you get, and also Zenyatta just crushing everybody, just destroying everybody. Those two stacked together is what's causing this. So everybody's like, okay, well, if they're going to be in the game, who needs healing anymore? Let's just go full just dive. And the problem with this is that it made characters like Mercy and characters like Illari not that useful, right? Because their entire, let's say Mercy's entire kit is just healing, right? She has her damage boost and things like that, but her real thing is that she's just supposed to be healing all the time. Well, not necessarily, right? Be damage boosting your main DPS, but her kit is the constant healing that she gives. And then when she's healing less, she's also healing herself less. So that there's that whole dynamic. While Illari, that stationary healing, one, everybody knows where the healing thing is, and now we have a very mobile meta, so it's really just easy to destroy her healing turret. But at the same time, her little, I forget what it's called, her laser sword healing thing that gives a stupid amount of HP per second. What is it? It's like 200 a second when she has it on somebody. That move, because of, again, the healing nerf and Zen's ball, it doesn't keep you alive like that anymore. is the problem. So those are obvious problems for healing abilities, which is what, let's say, these two characters are based off of. And surprisingly, from what I've seen, Moira has also climbed, which is weird. Is weird, but it makes sense because, again, there's a really big, and we'll get more into it when we speak about tanks, but there's a really big, hey, if you can survive and just exist, that is some value. But on top of that, Moira deals a ton of damage, like a ton of damage. She does a lot of healing too, but it's very short range. But her ability to just kind of, go into her mist form and just kind of leave and then come back and keep doing damage and things like that has surprisingly brought her up the ranks, which is interesting, especially because she's like insanely easy to play. So that's a different conversation. That'll be a different video. I am surprised, however, that Kiriko doesn't feel that OP, and that's kind of wild, especially with the damage heavy meta with that rewards mobility and survivability, and she has 2 get out of jail free cards that she can kind of use in rotation. She could 2-shot any squishy that's like close Actually, can she still two-shot? I don't know. Maybe that's the difference. But yeah, I don't know. I don't find her to be as insane as before. But I'll do some more research. I'll play a lot more games and kind of figure out what the hell is happening there over the weekend. And yes, I know that Zenyatta has been nerfed, but that was really recent. So I also want to kind of spend some time to see kind of what happened there. How he's going to be affected by it, because the main problem is his Discord, but at least now when you get to him you can actually kill him, right? The extra 25 HP he had, and how he would freaking what is it, Spartan kick you into like the abyss. Those abilities are gone. Well, not gone, but you know what I'm saying, they've been severely nerfed. So we'll see what happens there. And the buff that Illari got with her, was it the cooldown for her turret? I don't know if that was the problem, right? Because generally, if you're good at playing Illari, you keep it up and you're moving it around constantly. So it doesn't really get destroyed like that. So that's more of a skill floor luring that they did to make her more effective at lower levels. But I don't know. Who knows? We'll see. And now for the tanks. Tanks are kind of suffering right now. But I do want to say something, though, because ever since, like, let's say for a few months now, people have been saying that playing tank sucks because X, Y, and Z, and like all these reasons. I've never disliked playing tank. All right, so I can't even say I fully agree with like the consensus that is in Overwatch that tanks have been suffering, and it has not been fun playing tanks for like the last like 6 months. I've never, even like my friends I play with, everybody wants to play tank. So I'm not entirely sure. I know it's annoying being dependent on tanks that require healing, like people like Reinhardt. Like, oh my god, if people who are complaining about playing tank are Reinhardt players, I get it. Go ahead, man. Just go ahead. I get it. I got you. I'm not talking about you. But like Doomfist players, D.Va, like all those, like Sigma, you're fine. Like, in my opinion, I've never really thought that playing tank sucked. Right? I don't know. It's probably just me, but I know that it's harder for a tank to play because it's much more punishing. So you do need you need a lot more to be able to play a tank, but tanks are still really fun. Like, they're very dynamic. There's always buttons to press. There's always something to do. It's I don't know. Like, I find support gameplay to be pretty boring because you're in the back line and like all that type of stuff. So, anyways, I don't know. It's just more dynamic. I just find it a funner role to play, even if I'm getting like destroyed all the time. All right, like, I don't like playing snipers. I don't like playing the character that kind of just sits back and just shoots from a distance, right? That's why when I play DPS, I play Genji, I play oh my gosh, I believe I'm forgetting her name. Tracer's my main right now for DPS, and it's just fun. It's just fun. So yeah, I don't fully agree to the extent that people are like playing tank sucks, but because I think they're maybe the most dynamic, or one of the most dynamic roles to play in the game. But I do understand that this patch has definitely made things harder for a tank, because now DPS has a reason to shoot you, right? While before, if like they say the DPS kind of sink in their damage onto you, they're just kind of not doing anything, right? Because you would just kind of heal it off. The amount of healing you would get mixed with your damage mitigation abilities and, you know, all your abilities that kind of give you temporary health would make all that damage very useless. But now, because you get reduced healing, and they probably have a Zenyatta on the other side of the team, you can take down a tank like pretty effectively. And if you take down the enemy tank, that is the biggest advantage you can have, right? There's more of an advantage of taking out the tank than taking out one of the supports or taking out one of the DPS enemies. And I can't stress this enough. It's the combination of the Discord orbs from Zenyatta and the healing reduction that DPS gives now that is the problem. The stack is is insane. So this has gotten to the point where only the mobile tanks are surviving now, right? You got Diva, Ball, Doom, and Winston that are all pretty good. I think they're all good tanks right now. The best one being Ball well, I'll say why Ball is the best one, right? Ball's the best tank right now, not because, he's going in and killing anything. He's just the best one because he just survives long enough for something to happen, right? All the other tanks, they do die relatively quickly to Ball. Like, Ball just kind of goes in, kind of harasses a little bit, and then leaves. And then, since everybody has like a Sombra and a Tracer on their team now, if you have a Sombra going around hacking, healing locations, you just have that all the time, so you could just continuously go back. And then eventually, your Sombra, your Tracer gets like a good amount of damage on the enemy Zenyatta, and then you can just kind of take them out together. And then there you go. Your Zenyatta could go in and kill whoever they're playing as, and that's kind of how the game is being played right now, at least at higher levels. So yeah, the tanks aren't necessarily doing anything but making space, which is a great thing, because even if you go back to my other videos, my character philosophy videos, I did say several times, I don't think tanks should be doing that much damage. I don't think tanks should be killing that many things. I don't think so. I think that they should be making space for the DPS to kill stuff. And that's kind of what we have right now, but maybe a little, like, we're very close to that balance. I think we're really close to that balance. I think the only people who should be reliably killing things, like really, really well killing things, I think that should be left for the DPS. And then if you have a tank that is missing in certain things, let's say how, a character like Zarya who has no CC, right? It makes perfect sense for her to be doing more damage. Or a character like Reinhardt who, he has no way of really protecting himself, like putting HP onto himself while doing something else. And I'm not counting his shield, because when his shield's up, he can't do anything else. A character like Reinhardt who goes in there, he should be doing a ton of damage. So unless it's like one of those circumstances, I do think that high damage reliability stuff should be left to the DPS. So in that regard, I think it's a good thing. The problem is, again, I don't know if it's, it could just be Zenyatta is the problem. It could just be that it's Zenyatta that's kind of messing everything up. Because if you look at the characters who aren't mobile, right, and let me rewind a little bit. Like characters like Ball, Diva, Doom, Winston, they can get in the fight and they can leave. And as long as Zenyatta doesn't have his sights on them for 2 seconds, the ball goes away and they can re-engage, right? So that's kind of their big advantage. Mobility is a big advantage. And even getting to the back line to pick off the support characters, right? They can easily get in there. But you have a character like Roadhog, who I know he got his buff now. We'll see how that works, but I think they buffed his damage mitigation to 50% while he's healing himself. I think he's still going to be garbage. I think he's absolutely going to be garbage still, because he's just so easy to hit and the damage has increased, and there's just, he can't get in the fight that well. He can't leave at all. Like he has a lot of issues, and it's the same issues with, let's say, what's the rock character? Oh my gosh, Mauga. Yeah, like Mauga. Mauga sucks too, and I'm okay with that. Like I'm okay with that. And it's again, it's funny. It's whenever Roadhog and Mauga are not the meta, the game is in a good place. So, and the game is in a pretty decent place right now. A lot of things can still be fixed, but it's pretty good right now. However, like, you have decent characters, respectable characters, like Reinhardt, who are even worse than those two guys. And Reinhardt at this point he's not even a character in the game. There's a video going around where I think he was full HP, and within like a quarter of a second he got exploded. And I know there was a Baptista window in front of him, but a quarter of a second is crazy. It's crazy. But as I'm saying all this, the great thing about this patch, like, as I was like kind of saying this, and even like when I was writing it, in the back of my head I was like, they're gonna fix it. And that's the thing of this patch. Like they fixed so many things. I actually believe that they can actually fix things now. Like, I'm not worried. Like that's very new to Overwatch 2. I'm not worried that they're looking into this and they're gonna find some solution to it, because they really did a good job on this patch. So yeah, although Reinhardt is like garbage tier right now, he'll be back. He'll be back. Plus, he's like a fan favorite. He's one of the OGs. They're gonna give that man something. And as I'm recording this, again, I'm getting like all these thoughts, so I'm kind of just ad-libbing right now. Everything I said about how, let's say, Winston goes in, and then you have Tracer and Sombra doing their thing, and then supports doing their thing. I realize I'm emphasizing a world where there's a lot of coordination, right? Which happens at higher ranks, or for me personally, I play with my friends a lot, so we kind of always know what we're doing. And at higher ranks, people know what the name of the game is, right? They know what they need. They know what they have to be doing. They know what the meta is, all that type of stuff. But I guess for most people, this probably wouldn't apply, like anything under Masters or something. I don't know, and I'm not trying to be condescending or anything, but the ball Tracer Sombra get up really works if, and Zenyatta really works if everybody kind of knows what they're doing. If not, it doesn't really work like that. And I guess I'm saying this to show the level of coordination. The skill ceiling has definitely exploded, because coordination has now become even more apparent than before. Then I guess that's the point of what I'm trying to say now. Coordination has become much more rewarding than it has before this patch. And I guess this can go under the section I had before about the skill cap increasing, but I think this probably fits in tanks more than any of the other roles, because tanks are the ones being punished for mistakes a lot more than any other roles. And even one of my friends, she only plays supports, and she's a really good support, but we really gotten into like her calling stuff out. Like when she sees something, say something. I've gotten better at calling things out, because we need, like, again, skill ceiling has increased. People who coordinate, people who can do call outs, get a big advantage. And I do think that's probably a step towards maybe people even going back to using their microphones the way they did in Overwatch 1. And I have seen that. I've seen more people talking to each other, but I don't know if that's just anecdotal, so I'm not really going to say much on that. But yeah, man, like it's a good thing. I'm very happy about this patch. But yeah, let's move on to DPS. I would like to interrupt this video to ask you to like and subscribe. If you made it this far in the video, chances are you kind of like what I'm talking about, so you know, help me out, guys. And DPS got the greatest changes to the game, as in they're just extremely fun to play right now. And they finally got the passive, well, they finally got a passive that contends to the usefulness of the passive that support characters had. The DPS passive of reducing healing was genius. simply genius. Again, like I said earlier, I think it was a little overtuned, but it's good. It's very useful, and I'm thinking there should probably be a buff to tanks. Well, let me like zoom back to tanks for a second. You know how tanks kind of suffer the most from the reduced healing and the Discord thing? I'm thinking if maybe their CC reduction was applied to the healing reduction they got from tanks, maybe it would fix a lot of the issue, right? So instead of getting their damage, their healing reduced by 20%, it'll be reduced by 16%. So maybe something like that could work. But anyways, back to DPS. DPS is very engaging and gives a lot more depth to the whole who you're gonna shoot, right? You're not just simply shooting now for damage, right? You can be coordinating and doing all these other things to stop somebody from healing, right? Like it's so much, like they've done a good job with this ability. They added another layer of what it means to do damage as a DPS character. It can be much more strategic now. And as for the passive healing, the universal passive healing, I do think DPS benefits from this the most, mainly because most tanks can't leave the fight to just heal, and tanks have so much HP that the low amount of healing they're getting after not taking damage for 5 seconds is just so minuscule, right? And on top of that, if a tank isn't like with this team, the team is losing. So yeah, this has benefited DPS much more than any other role. And if you look at support characters, they already had a passive healing, so you know there's a depreciating reward. But you throw in the fact that DPS characters are the flankers, right? They're the ones who go around, who can get into the fight, who can leave, who can poke and do all that type of good stuff. For example, my main DPS right now is Tracer. She's been my main for a while. It used to be Genji, but I'm actually thinking of going back to Genji for what I'm about to say right now. But being able to leave and come back and kind of heal yourself, and like even the projectile size differences has been very good in a way that I don't even think is OP. Now, you know, Genji's ultimate, it's better. I could feel that it's better, right? Before, when I would use his ultimate, I'm trying to swing around and I'm like, swing it now. But he has that whole little, it's like so slow to kind of come out. That has gotten better, but no. But I'm trying to see. I think I can climb with him, but you know, the amount of effort I have to put into Genji for him to be viable at like really high tiers is I don't even know if I have the time for it. But yeah, Tracer is killing it now. Tracer is killing it. Even in the last season 8, I thought Tracer was really good. I thought she was kind of decently high tier, maybe A tier. But you know, being able to go in, kind of shoot somebody in the face and then go away and then kind of come back, that level of harassment where 2 support characters are trying to kind of mess with you. Well, you're essentially harassing 2 support characters and they're so busy trying to fight you with their tank dies, and then and then you could just leave and the rest of your team kind of goes in and kind of washes everybody away. She's gotten so much better this season in a way that I don't necessarily think is OP. So yeah, this is good. As for things being easier to aim, and what is it? They increased the size of projectiles and hitbox of the bullets or whatever. It's not as bad as I thought it was gonna be, right? I don't think I'm getting any shots I don't deserve, right? And that was kind of the big fear I had before. And there's been a few cases where, you know, I did think I got hit by something I didn't need to get hit by. Specifically you, May. But overall, it's not that bad. And the characters who had it like really bad, where you can see that there's such a big difference, is Soldier and Widow. But they've been nerfed, like severely nerfed. Like they brought down their hitbox by like something crazy, like 30%, 35%. So they're seeing the problems, they're making the changes to it, and yeah, I don't feel like I'm being cheated or having an unfair advantage on anybody, really. And I know we've all seen the videos on YouTube where, you know, some streamer or somebody is kind of showing how far away you need to shoot to actually technically hit somebody because the hitbox is so big. And I get that, but that's not how the game is, right? Overwatch is actually a pretty hard game to aim in because it's so dynamic, right? You got people that could teleport, you have people that could fly, you have a giant gorilla freaking jumping on you every like 2 seconds. Like, it's a hard place to shoot. So it's okay. I don't think it's gotten too crazy. And the characters that I did get crazy on, again, like they did bring it back down. So yeah, I think this was good, and it also just feels good. It just feels better. Like it makes you more happy. So it's kind of the whole, you know, if in the face value everything makes you happy, does it really matter what's going on behind the scenes? I would say yes, but for this game and with how dynamic everything is, and you know, it has actually made the game. It has actually brought up the skill ceiling of the game because it's more punishing if you make a mistake positioning wise. Then you know, it's a lot more demanding on your brain intelligence or your game intelligence rather than your mechanical intelligence or mechanical skills. So yeah, not that much to say about DPS. I think it's pretty clear that it's probably the funnest role right now, and the most impactful, as it should be. Not as it should be, as in most impactful, but like the killing potential is with them now. Like, they do a lot of damage, but they also decrease your healing. I think that's very important. While support characters can do a lot of damage, but they also can heal and run away. We just need to look at tanks a little bit, but we already spoke about the tanks. So yeah, there you have it. Overall, this patch was kind of a home run for the Overwatch dev team. Home run as in this is an amazing starting point for the game. It has mostly restored my faith in the dev team. And like, again, last month I was like, the game is still fun in spite of the devs. Now I think the game can be great because of the devs, because of the new DPS passive being so creative and how aggressive of a change they put into the game. Like, there's a lot less instant deaths, but there's a lot more deaths that you can build up to now, because it's not just all or nothing anymore. And they fixed it in a very roundabout way that I think is really cool. And by doing things like this, it has brought up the skill cap of the game. The higher HP, easier aiming, higher damage, and reduced healing passive combo that they developed it's just a, I don't know, chef's kiss to that. Like, it's really good. Now, there are still some glaring problems with the game, right? Like, support still has several moves that have no counter play or anything like that. And brawler tanks are still poorly designed, I would say, in comparison to the other tanks. Everybody besides Junker Queen. I think Junker Queen is in a good place, design-wise. But, like characters like Mauga, no. And I still think that 6v6 would be better than 5v5, but we might not be going through that. When people say there's no way we're going back to that, what do you know? All right, what do you know? It's possible, but yeah. So there's still a lot of things like that, but I do trust the team now to fix all of these. So kudos to them. So my final message here would be, please, 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 please go download my book and leave a review. It's free. It's entirely free. It will take you nothing. If everybody who watches this video goes on Amazon right now, let's say 1,000 people, if only 1,000 people go and download the book right now over today and Saturday, and then leave a review, my book will be #1. It doesn't take that much. It really doesn't take that much, and it's free. It's absolutely free. It's a fun ride. It has a very childish, quirky, sense of humor, an amazing magic system, I would say myself. But yeah, just download the book and review it, preferably a good review. But take your time to read it if you want, and then leave an honest review. It's all good. But yeah, so don't forget to like and subscribe, leave a comment for the algorithm, and don't forget, I love you.